All right, Nathan, what are we doing today, finally?
All right, we are back on the Turbo LS. It has been a super duper long time. It feels like forever because we've been getting that car ready for drag challenge. We've been getting Michael's cars ready to get to Bright, and we're finally back on it. It's been a while.
It has been a while.
This is now known as Parts Car.
It has become a bit of a parts car.
Yeah.
We have stolen a few things off it.
Yeah.
In favour of the Fairlane. Oh, and my Sandman as
And
well
the
too.
Sandman, and it's just Parts Car.
Yep.
But we're not going to keep it as Parts Car for long because we want to finish this car, get it racing by the end of the year, and see what the hell it does.
Yeah.
So today we're going to mainly focus on the fuel system. So we got Daniel clearing out the tray because it is full of stuff, so we can get to the fuel tank and figure out how we're going to tee in a return line.
Yep.
So I think we're going to mainly focus on just getting back to the feel of what a V8 turbo feels like. That's where we are at.
So it's been a while, even since we looked at this, to be honest. We literally rolled this out of the way and we've only been stealing parts off it every time we look at it. What we have stolen is, as you can see, we are down a few coils. That's because we end up stealing these coils to put onto the Fairlane when we're having issues with the coil packs on that. But good news is we have brand new coils to put back into this thing, so we might get Daniel started on that once he's finished with the tray while we start looking into the fuel system. Mainly what we need to do today, like Nate said, is get this fuel system sorted. We've already got the rails in, the injectors are already in. They're not Bluetooth, yep. So what we need to do is, up this end, we need to figure out where we're going to mount our reg. The reason why we need to run a reg is because it needs to be a boost reference reg now. So we need to figure out where we're going to put that and where we're going to run our lines to. Once we run it to the reg, then it's just a deadhead system to the rails, I believe we're going to do, or something like that.
Yeah, it just goes straight into the rail.
Yeah, so we're going to look at that. We need to pull the pump out, need to play with that, need to run a fuel return into the tank as well too. Just a few little bits and bobs. But once we get this fuel system done, then we're in good stead to plumbing up the rest of this engine and having it ready to go very, very soon by the looks of it. So let's get into it. All right, so first things first that we need to get done today is we want to get access to the fuel pump. Turns out the fuel pump is underneath this plastic tray in the back of this tray. So we need to clear this area out. So we're going to take everything out and we're going to take the hard lid off as well too, so we're not bumping our noggins while we're working on this. And then we can go from there. This is obviously used well. It's used like a proper use should be, I suppose. Like we're hiding the body. Do you want to go outside?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind actually just washing it out. Okay, that looks like it's got a hinge pin. Oh, we just prop it up like this.
Wow, it is heavy.
Yeah, yeah.
Pretty sure. What?
Right up. Way up. There you go. And it's not screwed down.
Hang on, wait, in fairness, that's like every ute ever that's ever been touched by anyone. Alright. What are we looking at?
Come on in. Welcome to my crib. Yeah, that's it. Fuel pump. It's quite easy actually. They've just got like a circlet that holds it in.
What are you going to start with?
I'm just going to try and pull them off, get covered in fuel like I always do.
Oh no, you know what these are? Hang on, I know how to do this one. It's the clips on the side, yeah. See those two grey ones? I'm pretty sure you just push them in. Or perhaps not.
Yeah, I got no idea. Some pliers, so I can grip it. Daniel, some pliers, please.
Alright, so we're not going to forget this time like we did last time, and then we had to blow bubbles into the tank, remember? And that didn't even work.
Forever blow
Ready?
bubbles.
Alright, we figured it out. We're going to use the pliers. Squeeze these two guys down.
There we go.
There's one. Alright, we thought we figured it out.
No?
Wait, I thought it went just then. Do you think we flicked the last one?
Yep, I think we flipped.
There we go. I don't know exactly what I did, but it worked somewhat.
Spaghetti-o.
That worked.
Should just put a surge tank in it, eh?
That would have been a lot easier.
Yeah.
But this is budget.
True.
Remember?
Oh yeah, that's right.
Well, you still got lots of fuel.
I was going to say, I still got a bit of fuel in there, eh?
There you go. What are you doing, Nate?
So what you're gonna do with these lines, you need to get a specialty tool, and our specialty tool cabinet doesn't have it. So we're gonna do exactly what we did last time on the HQ, was we just put a little slit in it, and she came right off.
Yeah.
Put my safety squints on.
Because you had a bad day.
What we do last time, we opened it up, didn't we?
I think so.
With a screwdriver.
It should just come right off. That's how you get your quick release fittings off. Open her up, which I think I might need to cut more. Mate, I am surgeon with angle grinder.
You are surgeon.
I am surgeon. People trust me to do open heart surgery on them.
With a grinder.
It never ends well, but...
That made me laugh.
How good are these quick release fittings?
So good. Absolutely love them.
He's got it. Hey!
Holy dooly. Quick
Good.
release.
She's still good.
And look, this freaking grabby thing is still on there. Look, that's what grabs it.
Yeah, there's a tool that you send in there and it fixes it, but we don't have it yet. Anyway, it's off now.
It's reusable. Might try and figure out a location for the fuel rig to live.
Yeah, if you want to look at that, I'm going to look at the fuel pump and figure out like what we need to massacre on that, and
Yeah.
then we can go from there.
All right, done. Let's
Cool.
do it. Break.
So, this is our standard fuel pump, nothing special obviously, but what we have here is an in-tank 40mm E85 safe fuel pump. It's an EFP 530, I don't know what that flows. It's been so long since I ordered it, I forget.
Yeah.
So, the big question is,
The dodgy hat is on.
we could be in trouble here because this don't look like she gonna
You
fit.
look like a big girthy girl.
Yeah, because this big chunky bit at the top, this might not work. Uh-oh. So our hope really is to reuse this cradle just for simplicity. But looking at it now, I don't know whether we're going to be able to be honest, because this fuel pump, I do not think is going to want to fit. But we've done worse before. And we'll do worse again. Alright, so let's just take off what I know needs to come out. One thing that I know I need to take out is this fuel reg needs to come out. We're not using it because we're using an external fuel reg. This is no longer required. So we need to relieve it of its duty. I really want to get this out of the way and I can't figure out how that happens. Everything's very slippery as you can tell.
I can see the screwdriver going into your hand. Your eye getting poked
There we go.
out.
Oh,
That's
look
it.
at that. It's going to work
Beautiful.
beautifully. We had nothing to worry about this.
Nothing. Springs.
That's good. So that's good news. Looks like this might actually work. This is really getting torn down to nothing, huh? That could be a mistake. So we sit a new fuel pump in, kind of like a glove, kind of not like a glove at the same time.
So this is the reg we're using. We're using a Raceworks reg. We've used this on pretty much everything.
Yep.
So the reg is going to be here, but this stupid freaking thing that usually should be gone, our VAC reference goes straight into it. And we asked Jamie from Raceworks if it can be flipped. He didn't give us a definite yes,
He didn't
but
give a
he said it's
definite no.
symmetrical.
He didn't give it a definite no either.
Yeah, so what we're going to try and do is flip this top so then our VAC reference points the other way.
Yeah. It's going to be real custom. Custom reg right now.
Custom. Why? I'm really worried this is going to go poing. Oh shit, that is spring loaded. No, there we go. It's not too bad.
Oh, easy. So what we're trying to do is basically just do that, yeah, because inside, all it is a big cavity. So, as you were, look how professional we are. We are turning pieces around to make sure there's no like weird lines running and stuff.
Even though we could have got rid of the AC, but you know, we'll let it go.
Meanwhile, I'm about to hack the crap out of this module right here. All right, well that's going to work, so that's good news.
Yeah, this is good. So I'll get this mounted, and then hopefully you'll be done with that and have the pump switched over.
What are you doing?
I've got to move the reg out away from the firewall because when I sat it up against the heat shielding against the firewall, it like packed it out enough and it fitted perfect. And the minute I cut the heat shield away and I set it up against it, it's the it's the sill panel. So I've got to extend the bracket. I'm just going to add a piece in the bracket and pull it out.
Oh, you're going to extend it out.
Yeah.
How'd you go?
It's ugly. At least our rig is going to sit well away from the firewall.
Plenty of room now.
All the room. Clean it up, paint it black.
So I pulled this apart quite extensively, and what I've figured out is when this pump sits in here, like that, this pump sits a lot lower, by about 10 mil lower, to be honest.
Oh wow, okay.
And the trouble is, it's not going to fit in here. I can't reuse this original sock, and to be honest, I don't really want to because it's pretty old and crappy. I'm going to have to reuse this sock, so I'm hoping I can just sort of shove it in there and the sock just fits. But because it's a lot deeper, what I need to do is I need to actually shorten this by about 10 mil. So I'm going to shorten this 10 mil by cutting it off there. Then I'm going to sit this new pump in, like so. Then that should jam it in place, and once it's jammed in there, it shouldn't move.
Yeah.
So that's probably the easiest way of doing it. Alright, I want to try and get this relatively straight, so... Let's see what happens when I do this. Leaves a little to be desired, but I can fix it up on this, hopefully. Alright.
Not bad though.
No, it's not bad. And I sit that in there, like so. So what actually holds it in place is these little legs here.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Which is very similar to what the old one did, except the old one was clamped down. I may run a cable tie, like just around it to hold it in place, just to make assembling it a little bit easier. Yeah, that'll work, I reckon. It's not going to go anywhere.
Yeah, perfect.
Alright, I think that's a win.
Let's
go. We got our Extendo Patrono. Hopefully, we have no firewall issues. When his firewall is in the way, it's going to get the hammer.
It looks like it's going to work.
It actually looks alright.
Factory.
Alright.
Okay, so I'm changing my game plan up a little bit here. What I originally was going to do was, this is going to be our 2. This for our purge, the purge valve from the canister will come back into this, so that we keep all that. And then we were going to try and put this bulkhead in, and I was going to sink that through there, seal it up and put that in, and then this would be our return line. However, the problem is, when I flip this over, and I want to put this bulkhead here, you can see there's that little crevices here, or that little groove. What that means is that groove's never going to seal. We're never going to get that bulkhead to seal, and it would just leak, so that's no good to us. So we can't do that. So I'm changing the plan up a little bit. We're still going to use this as our fuel delivery, so it's going to go to the engine using the original hard line. But then I'm going to use this as the return line now. So the return line's going to come into here, so I can just use quick release fitting from Raceworks onto this. But what I'm going to do is I've drilled out this hole here. I don't know what this was ever supposed to be, but it was sealed up. But I've drilled this hole out, and I'm going to use this as our purge line from now on. So I'll just get some rubber hose and put a hose clamp around it, and that way I can still use the purge. The reason why we're keeping all that is it's probably the right thing to do, I suppose. And a lot of people wouldn't worry about it, but if it's all there, it's all ready to work, we might as well use it. The engine's already got it there set up, so yeah, we'll just use it, and it's that way the engine's working the way it wants to work. Alright, so the hacking is complete. Don't know if it's going to work, we're yet to find out. Look, I'm trying to make the best out of a bad situation here. Mainly because we just want to get this thing done and running, and then if there's problems that arise from it later, we'll worry about it then. For the meantime, this is what I've come up with. So I've managed to get the pump to sit in there. It's just wedged in between the top and the bottom here, so it's not going anywhere. It's actually still held in place at the top like the standard one is. The sock just sits at the bottom. I'm hoping it gets fuel come through, because it looks like it uses this one-way valve here to actually get the fuel to come in, and then must close, so that that's what the surge pot, or how the swirl pot actually works in this thing. The return line now, we no longer have a regulator in it, so I've just ran that so it runs down to the bottom of the pot.
Yep.
And yeah, I've just plumbed it up.
Sweet.
Change the wires over the terminal. I think she's ready to go back in. Alright, let's hope this works, because I don't want to pull this out and get covered in fuel again. This definitely got a lot more complicated than I thought it was going to be.
It did, didn't it?
Yeah, this whole job, to be honest, I thought, oh, this will be easy. People do this all the time. How do you do it? Alright, so the fuel pump module's back in. We need to sort of plumb it up now and stuff, but we're sort of looking at it. We're missing way too many parts really to sort of really finish this up today, I reckon. So what we're going to do is we're probably going to call it here and come back to another day. I might spend the rest of the day just going over the car, figuring out a plan of what exactly we need, because we hadn't really prepared for this, to be honest. We ordered stuff ages ago and forgot what we had and what we didn't have. So we're going to call it here and come back to this at another day. place an order, get a bunch more parts, and then we can finish this off properly. So until we get those parts, we'll be back in here next, I guess.
Yeah, when we get the parts.
Yep. Ooh. All right, well, it is a new fresh day. The sun is shining, the birds are singing. We have new parts. This should be what we need to finish off the fuel system in this thing, we hope. So since the other day, since we worked on it, we sort of left that day, we're a little bit like just, oh, there's so much to do here, we don't know exactly what's going on. And after Nath left and we finished up the day, I actually went through and I went and looked at all the fuel system plumbing and actually figured out how it works. And it turns out it works nothing like what we expected it to work in the begin with. So what I actually did to modify the fuel pump module the other day by drilling out that hole to run another line was all pointless. It's actually wrong. I need to now fix all that and go back to what it was, because it works completely different, but we'll go into that later when we get to it, because
We'll get Michael to draw us a beautiful schematic.
there's gonna need to be a schematic. But yeah, anyway, lesson learned. That's like that old theory, like measure before you cut, whatever it is.
Yeah.
We just cut before we measured. Anyway, so in here.
I just go off my brain thinking, well, there's got to be one that goes to the engine.
Yep.
And one that comes back to the tank.
Yeah, I know. And that's sort of what I did, and now we're here. But look, we went to Tiperformance. We ordered a bunch of fittings. Whoop.
Hey, I want that dad tax.
Oh,
That's
that's
just weird.
Got some lollies. Oh, they've got bananas now.
Oh, look at that. Smashing. Hang on. You know why? It's
Why?
because Melbourne's weather is almost tropical now.
The humidity though. So we have some lollies. That's the good and important thing that'll keep us going for today. But in here we should have everything that we should need to finish off a fuel system in this thing. So hopefully we can get that done today, get it all squared away and done. Before we can really go into any of this, what we've realized is we probably need to take the fuel tank out. The reason being, I'll show you when we get to it, but there's a union block, basically where all the hard lines join and come to one. And in there is where it goes to all the soft lines, where it goes to the fuel tank, and it also goes to the charcoal canister, and it goes to the front of the cut. So we need to get access to it, and there's no access from underneath. There's like this tiny little hole. So we need to take the fuel tank out, get to that block basically, and then from there we can convert to soft line using these fittings right here, which is the EFI Quick Knit fittings.
And they're going to go straight onto the pump.
Straight onto
Yep.
the pump, goes onto these. Basically it's going to go onto these union blocks and stuff
Yep,
like that,
yep.
and then we can sort out where we're going
Lovely.
to go. But we're in a good state to get this finished today, hopefully. So
Thank God.
let's get the hard lid off, get the bonnet off. We'll look at getting this tank out, and once we get that tank out, then we can actually go
Yep.
ahead and get this thing
Let's do it.
sorted.
Yeah, that was always it.
There we go.
Leave it on. What's underneath this? Oh, it's like it just dropped down.
Hey, spaghetti fountain of fuel.
Yep.
Fast and Furious fountain of fuel. You know what?
I think we'll just make a new line.
When in doubt, just rip it out.
Yeah.
I think we make a new line, yeah. Nice work.
These quick knit fittings are not easy.
They're not quick enough.
Alright, so to explain how this fuel system works, now that I've actually gone ahead and actually looked at it rather than just guessing, done a little bit of diagram. So the way that this works, it's a little bit different to the way I've ever seen it done before. So this is our diagram, here's our engine, here's our tank, and this is our filter.
Yeah.
It kind of works a little bit strange. So the way that it works is the fuel pump sends fuel out through this line here, and it goes up through hard lines and all that, and it goes into a fuel filter. That fuel filter then goes into another line, which heads towards the front of the car, then takes a quick little detour right down the middle time and goes to a Y block here. That Y block then goes back to the fuel reg into the fuel tank. So it used to have the fuel reg that I removed. You remember I removed that? And that's how it works. So basically it's a closed circuit where it goes fuel out, filter, then back into the fuel tank, into the reg. How it works though is that reg, obviously when it gets to pressure, says, okay, don't send any more fuel into the fuel tank. Start using this Y block and start sending it to the fuel, to the engine itself. So that's the way it works. So it's a little bit strange. The way that I've normally seen it is in like a VE when I've looked at these modules is inside the fuel tank itself, it regulates and everything in the fuel pump module itself, so it only is one single line which goes to engine. That's what we assumed it was. So we thought the other line on the fuel module itself was actually a return from the purge or something like that. It was excessive and it was big, but I thought, oh well, maybe that's just the way they did it. No, it works a little bit different where they're not regulating, they're not bypassing and returning the fuel in the module itself. It's external out in this Y junction here. So a bit of a stuff up on our end. I should have looked at that first. So now I just got to cap off that hole that I made in it. It's no big deal. Anyway, I'll show you underneath the car so you can see better what it looks like, because my drawing probably isn't that great, but yeah.
Well, I don't think it fits a tank under there for starters.
Oh, it's a tank, isn't it? So if we come back here and have a look, this is that junction block that I was talking about before. It's the one that we saw earlier when we were on top of the car, where it has 4 ports coming into, and that all runs to the fuel tank. So the way that it works is, like I said, this line here is the one that actually comes out of the pump. It is what's sending pressure along this. It runs along the back here, comes up to this filter here. Pretty old school type of filter. Then that runs forward back to this fuel junction here, to this junction block here where it goes up to that Y, and then we'll go to the reg. And then from there, where it goes to that reg and that Y junction there, this line here is actually our 2 towards the engine. So this line here, the one that runs to the engine, is going to be the only line that we really salvage. We're going to make this our return line. I'll explain on the whiteboard in a second. The other one that's going to remain as well too is the purge line on the engine as well too. So our plan here is to basically do away with all of this, get rid of the filter and get rid of that line. We're going to tap in where this hard line is, where that junction block is, and we're going to make this, which our return line now. So instead of fuel going that way, it's going to go that way, and it's going to go back to our tank. Then what we're going to do is going to run another whole new AN line, which will go follow this hard line, go up to the reg and to the engine.
Beautiful, simple.
Out in the middle of all this, we're going to put a filter in here as well too.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it. Hopefully it's pretty simple. We're going to try keep that hard line. It might be a bit tricky with where our reg's positioned, trying to get a line into the reg without kinking it. So we're going to do that first, and as long as that works, we're going to do this system. If not, we'll run 2 lines new as well.
Yeah.
Might as well use what we got while it's there.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's potential plan change. Forget everything I just said. What are we doing?
Well, our hardline ends just here.
You can see
Can
where
you
the
see
hardline ends, just in there.
Yeah, and we want this to then
Oh,
tee
yeah,
into that.
No chance.
And there's absolutely no chance in hell that that's going to make that. So we're better off just run another line, because then we can just run a 90 off the bottom of this, and
Yeah.
then this just runs straight into it.
Yeah.
There's no bending, there's no flexing. It's simple.
I'll tell you what, if we're going to do that, why don't I get underneath it now and I start pulling out hard lines, and we'll pull...
You want to pull the hard line out?
I can just pull all the hard lines out.
Yeah. All right, let's just do it.
Ah, yes! There's a snake in my boot. There's a little bit of fuel. One's not hooked up. I don't know what the other one does.
So this is our fuel. This is our fuel filter.
Yep.
This is going to mount right here. It's going to work perfectly because we're going to have a P-clip up, and then we're going to have our trays there to hold everything, and then this is going to be in between, easily changeable, and I'm pretty sure this is washable.
Yeah, they are too.
So-
One thing that we should note, it's a new design as well too, compared to the old one.
Yes, we will explain that in depth further, but that goes there. Easy done.
This is the old Raceworks design for a filter. It's what we've used in a few projects now. I think the HQ ran one of these.
HQ
The
ran one of
LS1
these.
did. Yeah.
And it ends up being quite bulky.
Yeah, so the way that it works, these are pretty bulky, these things. The good thing is, like, these are interchangeable. They all are. So you can change the filter inside, like the micron count and everything, and also you can take these out and wash them. So this is a 40 micron, which I think is pretty standard for most EFI systems. They're really, really good bit of kit. But this is an older system, so the way that it used to work is you used to have to get your O-ring boss here. That will go into there, and then you end up putting your hose ends, one of these under there. So you can imagine by the time you add all that on, it's quite long and
Yeah, it's
quite
like 300
lengthy.
mil long.
Yeah, and it's a fairly big kit, and then you have to use a bracket as well too to fit in, which is fine. It looks really good once you got it all set up, but this is Raceworks' new design, or design they've had out for a little while now, and basically it makes it a lot more compact. So as you can see, it's already got a bracket on it, which is awesome, and it already has hose ends on as well too. These can come in different sizes as well too. This is AN6, you can get an AN8 or whatever you want basically. Heaps easier, heaps nicer. We're actually going to change the Fairlane one to this as well too, because it's much nicer.
Yes.
So we're all done upstairs. Now we've got our lines coming down here, and I've already ran, obviously, the nut certs, the filter. So we just got to run it to the tank.
Yep.
So it's just a matter of running all these. We'll have to run another fitting into that. Yeah, it's looking good. We're on good speed. I'm wrapped with this.
Yeah, it looks way better. Way better than what we were if we were going to leave the lines.
Yeah. All right.
Where are we at?
We are pretty happy with it so far. So we've got our lines, they're coming down here. We've got one big P-clip, everything there. And then I've detoured the brake line up and around the filter so it's not touching anything. And then we're ending here where this is where like a tray, a cover tray kind of goes over everything from here on.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I'm with you now. It's like a channel.
Yeah, the channel hides all here. That's why I wasn't going to worry about P-clipping.
Yeah, I'm with you, yeah.
And then these just shoot up into there, and it's simple as that.
Yeah, so we're pretty much now we're ready to feed them through, and then we can start like running our line and making our hose at that end and get it ready to put the fuel tank back in.
That's it, yeah.
And then she's pretty much done. Bada bing, bada boom.
Yeah. It hides it all, doesn't it? Hide the time, don't do that.
Hold that thread down. Alright, so that's all wrapped up. Our lines are now done. We might have to P-clip these together or something, maybe in case they vibrate, Nath, at some stage, but we'll see once we get it running.
Yeah.
We'll sit the cover back on just to get it out of the way in the shed for the meantime, but we're not going to screw anything down or anything.
Yeah,
Because
check for leaks.
when we prime the system, we're going to obviously have to check for leaks. All we ended up doing was putting in a screw with a bit of sealant around that to plug that hole that I prematurely drilled into. So that's going to be fine. Everything's hooked up. Yeah. The only thing left to do is the piece de resistance. Put the gauge into the fuel reg.
Yes.
And we call this one a day.
Yeah.
This is a Raceworks gauge, but it's actually an MVP gauge. It was like Raceworks' old sister company that they used to do. So we're calling it a super rare old stock.
Yeah.
Little bit more, little bit. Yep, that's it.
Good, because I was out of trouble. All right. Lovely.
Done.
How good does that look?
Good.
We probably have to pull that off when we put the cover on it. But anyway, we'll worry about that when we get to it. All right, well done. Fuel system's done. One big job done, sorted out of the way.
Yeah, definitely one of the bigger plumbing jobs out of the way.
Yep. Our crossover pipe probably looks a little bit high at the minute. That's because we're going to have to add a few more things, so we made it a little bit higher than what we...
Yeah, it's annoyingly got to clear this bracket. But I wonder if I can maybe possibly extend it out the back. I don't know. See what happens if there's an extension you can get, or
we'll revisit that potentially.
or maybe once all the covers and shit are on it, it might actually look alright.
It might look alright.
Yeah, see how we go.
Oh, and we also fit a big fat supercharger right here as well too. One day.
Jesus, both.
Really give that stock bottom end a workout. Yeah, look, really happy with how it looks so far. Honestly, going back and removing all those lines was definitely the way to go.
Yeah.
Looks so much better and so much neater, and less fittings, less joins, less chance of leaking. It's the better way of doing it. We're glad we went back and started again. Well, we're going to call this one here because from here, next step is probably plumbing it.
Yeah, intercooler or the exhaust.
Yeah, we're going to buy a few things for the exhaust, so we're still waiting for those parts to come. But other than that, she's looking really good. Getting exciting now. Anyway, if you've liked this episode, and I hope you have, please make sure to consider liking and subscribing. And if you'd like to support the channel even further, you're going to head on over to the website where you can buy a bunch of Hackshop merch just in time for Christmas. So head on over, get yourself some t-shirts, some hoodies. We have a range now, and stickers as well too. Head on over. All that goes a really, really long way to helping support what we do here and fund all this sort of thing. So if you like the channel, please consider buying something like that as well too, and thank you to everyone that has already. Look, I really enjoyed getting back in the shed today.
It was a good day today.
And just working away and getting stuff done. It's been a while since we've actually spent some time in here, not under a deadline, and just getting, like, I've been doing a lot of work off camera on the HQ lately, and the Fairlane as well too, just getting that ready for deadlines. So it's been good to get back in the shed and just do what we do here.
Yeah.
So anyway, until next week, I suppose.
Done.
See you then. Now it looks like a proper farm unit. Let's build a sleeper turbo. That's never been done before.
That's never been done before.
When in doubt, pry it out.
Pretty much. You really love this thing, don't you?
I know, I just don't know how to... The jaw doesn't operate as well as I thought it did. So, I know we've done fuel system to death. God, do that again. You know why there's all these panels in the utes?
Why?
It's to kick out all those quarter panel dents from going gutter to gutter. There we go.
You haven't had your wheat bix yet?
I haven't had my wheat bix.
How many do you do?
Like 6, 7.
Do you use 6 or 7 wheat bix?
Yeah.
I used to do like 2 with a mound full of sugar on top. So basically, all that the wheat bix was just a edible plate for my sugar.
That's a fish tank.
Fish tank.
Breeds bubbles.
Yeah. That's vaporized. That's fuel vaporized.
Ah, okay.
Vaporized when it starts to boil. You walking around aimlessly is concerning me. It usually means he's broke something and he's trying to fix it before someone sees it.
No, just you keep looking that way.
That's what I'm worried about. I'm waiting for the ting. What the hell are you doing?
Can't get your fingies in there anymore. So. This one is on now.
Yeah. So.
Ah! Damn it! I get it down the armpit.
As you can tell, we're not quite empty. All you need is love in my head now.
All you need is love.
I feel like that's not the sort of song you should be singing while you're working in a VY Turbo.
No. All you need is axles.
Just. Did you just hear a duck?
Yeah, I did.
Righto. This works really well.
Doesn't it?
Definitely recommend getting one of these.
Yeah.
Especially once we figured out that it works by, you take this off and you turn that around for different size hoses.
How good's that noise though?
Yeah, I know.
That's machine goodness.
It's very French. Oh. It's time to celebrate.
It's In the Tub by Bert and Ernie. You can find me in the tub with my Mr. Bob. Listen to this pretty sound. It comes from my rubber duck.
I like the fact that you put on the Ernie voice.
down. I ain't into standing up, so come give me a hug if you're into getting scrubbed.
Only you would know that off my head.